Hey out there, this is Friday, March 8th, 2019, and it is just about 8:36 here in the morning here in Northern California. Today, as usual, I get into a lot of different stuff. I kind of wanted to stick on a theme of questioning reality, how this is the proper thing to do, this is the logical thing to do, and emphasize the brevity of our time here. You know, that we don't have a lot of time to figure this thing out, this riddle, this puzzle. You know, what the heck's really going on here? We're part of something big apparently, and I think it would behoove all of us to tap into it. It's very cool, and sometimes I feel like apologizing for my appearance. It's going to sound a little off the wall, but I feel like I always look angry with these deep furrows in my brow, and some of this I think is genetic. I have a daughter that's 32 now, but when she was in her 20s, even she started to form these furrows, and it could be. I think American Indians are notorious for perhaps having a little deeper brow furrow than Anglos and others, but I am quarter American Indian. My daughter now, I guess she's only an eighth, but it could be somewhat genetic. I know even in my 20s, my wife took a picture of me sleeping, and at that time, my wife. And, even when I'm in a sound sleep and dreaming of laying in warm, sunny meadows, I still have these lines in my face. But I did recently get some stuff. I was researching it, and I came across this Retin A product. And so I got something. I'm trying to put, this cream on it to see if it can help. But, I'm not always angry and frustrated. In fact, I like to be jovial. And, most people that know me personally would say he's a nice guy. And, I do have a light side. What I do in these videos, this video series I'm putting out, is of a very serious, somber nature. So, and being a monologue too, it's not conducive to a lot of smiling, so. I'm not showing a lot of, upper teeth, but, I've got a few left, and I'm doing fine in that respect. Nowadays with dental implants, I mean, you could lose all your teeth and get all new ones installed, basically, so they could look better than your original teeth. At this point, you just got to come up with $100,000 or so, right? But, nevertheless, my upper lip comes down more than a lot of guys. I mean, you take a guy like Jerry Seinfeld, you see he smiles. His upper lip is kind of short between the bottom of his nose and the top of his bottom of his lip. But for a lot of guys, their upper lip comes down a little further than women. That's why so many women will show their upper teeth more often, more easily, not even smiling, but just the way they hold their mouth loosely and their upper teeth show. But with me, my lip hangs down below my upper teeth. So, there's not a lot of this. I look funny when I give a big smile, but I'm feeling pretty happy, to be quite honest. And I may not look like it, but hey, I'm in love. And you know what? I have benefited so much psychologically. I'm a little dingy, I admit, a little stupid, I think. But, that's the nature of the beast. Feeling like a giddy virgin again. It's been 15 years since I was intimate with a woman. And, I don't know if that should be embarrassing or a badge of honor, but it's the way it is. So I've forgotten what it's like, just like I was when I was a virgin. And, so all I've got really is this puppy love for this woman. And, the sexual part, that's just icing on the cake because, I've forgotten what that's like. And, I realize though now, with so much greater wisdom than I as a virgin, but just knowing that, what I'm after is the cake. It's like, I can live without the icing, but you can't live without the cake. A ship can live without a lot of things. Okay, but you could make do with other implements, but it needs a rudder. It absolutely needs a rudder. And this is something I've discovered about the female of the species. It is as integral to a man's happiness as it is stated in the very first chapter of the Bible, that God, the very nature of the Almighty Creator God, our owner, however you want to think of God, this higher power like they talk about at these 12-step programs, it's your call. Your call is just as valid as anybody else's. We're incredible cosmic creatures, and your perception is valid. But our perception could change at the drop of the hat. And we're a very dynamic creature, but the dynamic basically is male and female, and this is what we fundamentally have to learn about ourselves, that we're not content unless we are appreciating the opposite gender, and knowing that we are in need. We are not islands unto ourselves, so to speak. But your perception of God is just as real as anybody else's. Tragedies can shape our perception. I lost my mother when I was 21. I lost a son when I was 30. I've been through some tragedies. Lost my dad in 2014. We all go through tragedies, negative, bad tragedies, but sometimes good things happen to us, and it's a beautiful thing. And we need to really, at those times, just thank God. I mean, for everything good that you've ever experienced, everything that good that you will experience today in this moment or in the future forevermore is a gift from God, because He loves you. And this is very important for everybody to seize upon and own it as their own, and understand this is a very individual, personal thing we have going on with this thing, this entity we call God, the Creator. And we, being made in His image and likeness, we intuitively, instinctively, innately crave to be whole. And in order to be whole, we need a partner. And just the prospect of believing that I could find another partner at this point in my life has just excited me to no end. It's caused huge changes in my perception, and it's a total gift from God. And this woman is a gift from God. And if it's meant to be, it'll be, and if not, not. All I can say is I feel magnetically drawn. That's why I feel so forward about talking about her, because she's absolutely perfect. And I cannot imagine. I mean, I wasn't even trying to imagine, but when something suddenly appears, you like to hope it exists. But when it appears, that's it. It's just like the latest model Corvette you fall in love with, and it's like, oh no, this is incentive. I'm going to go out and make a lot of bread, and my motivation for getting my butt up and going to work every day is to have this extra dough to buy this brand new Corvette. And that's how I feel, but it's nothing that you can buy. It's something you could possibly woo, but there's no guarantee. But nevertheless, it still has a super positive effect, just the possibility. I mean, I feel like a 30-year spell has been broken from the last girl I was in love with. I met Lisa, my former wife, through my friend and virtual relative, Tony. It was down in Santa Cruz. I had been living on some acreage I bought and shared in common with my dad and my stepmother up in Shasta County, and in Cottonwood, southern Shasta County, right off Gas Point Road. It was very centrally located, actually, but legally you weren't supposed to build on this property, but you could have a barn. The reason was because it didn't have a sewer system in the area, and it was less than 100 feet from running water on either side. It had a creek. Crowley Creek ran down one side of the property, and the ACID, which is the Anderson Cottonwood Irrigation District Canal, ran down on the other side. So it was a long, narrow strip of land. I wish I still had that property, to be quite frank, but it got sold a long, long time ago. But nevertheless, I was living there, and I decided to move down to Santa Cruz. I had been working at this restaurant. I was a cook, line cook. Well, wasn't much of a line. You kind of went solo usually, I guess, unless they got really busy. But started working a graveyard shift as a cook. I kind of fudged my way into this job. I lied basically to get it. Well, I didn't lie. It was a half truth, I guess, deception, maybe worse. But Raylene, my boss, this gal, she super nice lady, super nice. But she I told her she was the one that was in charge of hiring, and because she was experienced, and she asked me if I had experience cooking, and of course I had cooked for myself, so I said yes. Long story short, I accepted the job. Raylene, she died like a couple of months or something in a car accident after. That was really sad, but I cheated my way into this job, and she taught me the ropes, and with a wink and a nod, I kind of confessed to her, but because she could obviously, I was pretty stupid about a lot of stuff. I didn't know that you add a little water to your scrambled eggs to make them fluffier. So that was a little trick I learned. And also, you get more volume. So, but anyhow, I was eating meat at that time, and I came up with my own sandwich. I remember it was a grilled rye sandwich. It had link sausage and Swiss cheese. Just a greasy mess, but delicious. And I don't think I ever came up with a name for it, but back then I was eating my share of pork and beef and whatnot, chicken. But it's been quite a while since I had any steady diet of red meat and whatnot. With all this colon issues, these colon issues coming to the surface, the gut issues, the cancer and whatnot. I think it's important for people to understand that you don't want stuff festering. You don't want too much meat on meat contact. So I don't recommend a lot of that. And it's, you got to think about your body as a machine and sweeping your guts and vegetables, fruits, stuff like that to sweep your guts, and other stuff, grains, and just kind of plant-based foods. Basically, is probably the healthiest, most longevity-inducing foods you could do. But, if you think of the body as a machine, and look, it says in Genesis 6, God's supposed to give us 120, so mind over matter, you get psyched out for something, and, hey, shoot for 120, why not, I mean, if God says that's what we're allotted, then we might as well give it our best, So, well, yeah, okay, I'll take it. I just want to be healthy. I don't want to be in pain. So, anyhow, I worked at this restaurant, and I was saving up. I wanted to buy a van, something I could would be a utilitarian vehicle. I could sleep in it too, camp out in it. So I took it down to Santa Cruz. I've always had kind of an aversion to paying rent, especially ever since it started creeping up and just got to absurdist levels in my estimation now. But anyhow, that was my plan. So I got this van and I went down to Santa Cruz, which is my hometown. Though I was born in North Hollywood down in L.A. County. I was brought up for the most part in the Santa Cruz area. And so I went down there and I met up with Tony. This is a lifelong friend. This is a relative. He was adopted by Paul and Virginia, who were close family friends from as far back as I can remember. We're going back probably till I was 6 years old in Santa Cruz, where my dad met Paul. They were both politically involved. I think they were like Democratic operatives, and they hung out with the big wigs. I mean, it's like the Leon Panettas back then, and so they were kind of keyed in, tied in, I guess, to the political affiliation. For whatever reason, these guys got on a Republican-hating kick, and they were devout, basically Democrats. And my dad and I kind of parted ways, but at some point, but in that degree. But I've never been loyal to any party. It's just, I voted Green Party. I voted for Roseanne when I thought she was the best candidate of who I was being offered. I did not like Romney. I did not like Obama anymore. I voted for him the first time, but when he showed his colors, I said, no way, man. And so anyhow, I know I'm all over the place, but, that's me. But anyhow, Lisa and Tony had been intimate at one time. Lisa, Tony knew from high school. They were both at this high school, which was a little offbeat high school, Loma Prieta down in Santa Cruz. And I actually have a daughter that preferred to go to that school. So it wasn't as traditional as the other schools. And, some kids like that. And so that's where they met. And Lisa's dad and mom were divorced, and she was living in Santa Cruz. Her dad was raising her. She was 17 when I met her, and Tony had another girlfriend at that point, Lori.